Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you try their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever had as well. Wait till you try those prime Wagyu burgers too. Wow, they're incredible. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call and find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! All right, a big welcome into everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on social media, thanks for watching us on Pick Your Favorite Medium, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. We're there. You can't get away from us. Also on Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast, plus Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and Wow Cable affiliates. And we are here with our baseball insider, world champion, all-star third baseman, 21-year veteran player, plus a couple of decades in coaching, and that would be the great Darrell Evans. Darrell, thanks for joining us on today's show. Yes!
Hey, Sam. Finally got back with you. How you doing? I'm doing great.
Everything's great. The only thing we're missing for everybody on TV, we can't see your face, so we're going to go to a split view on the camera, so at least they can see my giant cranium, if you know what I mean.
That's what they want anyway, so, they can always go to the baseball cards and all that if they can remember, remember what I used to look like.
Well, you still pretty much look the same.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you said that because I've been catching up with a bunch of my buddies lately. I mean, just kind of by accident. But, we've lost some guys and all teammates and all that. So it's a great excuse to go back to that. And we all kind of talk about that, because we remember each other from the good old days. And shoot, then you realize it's like 30 years, 35 years. And I still get people send me cards to sign. And so it takes me back there. I don't really think about it. And heck, I'm looking from inside. So, I don't really know that it's the reaction of the other people. So they seem to be okay with it. So I'm good with it. I'm still young and sarcastic and all that kind of stuff that I love and keeps you going, keeps you young and look forward to it. And then we get to go out and talk and tell our opinions like on this show and have fun with that. So we're still involved in baseball. I think that keeps us all young.
I think it does. And I was rumbling through my baseball cards over the last month, pretty much. And of course, I came across, 5, 6, 7 of your baseball cards, whatever the hell. I've been collecting them since I was a little kid. And I kept them, and I like the fact that I still have the cards, or most of them anyway. I think my mother probably got rid of some. She always got into that spring cleaning thing, and she sprung everything right out the garage, which, of course, is a colossal boo. It's because I lost so many things, so many of my personal stuff as a kid, right? And, everything from baseball, football cards, hockey cards, whatever, and basketball cards. And, of course, I know you're a big basketball guy. And I lost some old bowling trophies, too, right?
Yes, of course. Of course, everybody's got their old bowling trophies in a box in the back of the garage. I laughed because my parents they bowled twice a week, pretty much their whole life.
Yeah, but you're from Michigan.
They even kept their
right?
old bowling shirts, with the embroidery and all that stuff. But yeah, so it was something that takes you back. And like you said, I think we all, I had the baseball cards and all the cards and everything else, and it wasn't easy to kind of get them. You had to go in the with the bubble gum and all that stuff, and then of course the stars didn't have compared to the other guys, so you had to keep buying and buying, maybe finally get a star once in a while, but you had I think I was Don Mossie's. They used to have you got 50 of those and that wasn't enough to trade for one star. So, all that kind of stuff. But it was a way for us to love baseball when not like now where you can see it every day and you can and all that kind of stuff. So you're right. That was so fun to grow up that way and imagine what it was like. And I was blessed to get to go out there and stand on that field and play and entertain and listen to what other people thought of it. And then I could go right back to going, well, heck, I'll tell you what I thought when I was growing up, just the same thing as you. And what a thrill. And I think we appreciated it so much, the guys I played with, that there wasn't any other way but to go out hard. We never took days off like they do now. Or, it was like, heck, if you took a day off or you asked for a day off back then, they gave you a bus ticket to go home. So, it was just I think probably see if, talking to people that didn't get to play, not very many people did get to the big league level, but they all say the same thing, they got to be part of the game just through the baseball cards and the stats and, watch on Sundays. Well, when I was growing up, the only way you knew anything was the Sunday paper had the stats.
Well, Darrell,
and so otherwise you had to read the box score every day and all that kind of stuff, and which is a good way to learn too. So
right,
that's the beauty of the game still going on.
If I still had my baseball cards, I had some of them, but some of the old baseball and football cards, growing up in Chicago, they always load you up with your local players from the card companies, right? Now you're from Pasadena originally, but you think about, the players that you were going to get in your bubblegum packs, your wax packs. And so for us in football, of course, we got all of our Chicago Bears players. And back then, I remember I must have had 20 or 30 Walter Payton rookies. Boy, if I had just one of those now, those cards are worth $81,000 each. Imagine that.
Show me the money!
Yeah, but if you would have had all yours, the 50 that you had, it wouldn't be so valuable. It's because we all got rid of all the cards, and there's not very many of them left. Which
right.
I guess that's the uniqueness of the whole thing. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't have any of those left.
Yeah. Well, so how many guys did you ever get to meet? Anybody when you were young? Or did you ever, run into somebody at the store or, any of those kind of guys? I think that was kind of the dream of growing up and be like, oh man, what if I got to meet this guy? So
okay, so and I've got 3 minutes left in the segment. And I'm going to finish this segment out with this story. So when I was about 8 years old, I used to cut through the Ford dealership that was 2 blocks from my house on my way home from school because they had the coldest water fountain in town. Right? They figured they were making money, right? And 8 years old, what do you know? Right? Well, the good news is that I would go there and I would go get a nice cold drink of water out of the fountain there. And I'd go in the side entrance on a street called Grove, the street that I grew up on. And I would usually walk through and say hi to the sales guys and whatnot. Here's this pesky kid coming in to get cold water again. Well, one day I went and did that. I got my water. It was so hot. I wiped my mouth with my arm. I never forget this. And then after I got done, I'm wearing a ball cap like I do every day, I guess because I have a lack of hair, right? But nonetheless, so I went and I wiped the sweat from my brow and just wiped the water from my mouth. And this guy called me up. He called for me. He goes, hey, you. Hey, I'm talking to you. Come over here. And I'm looking around like, me? I don't know if you could see me because your camera is dark right now.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, no.
So here we go. So I'm like, okay. So I walk over there. My eyes are getting bigger and bigger and bigger because when I got next to him, the guy goes, have a seat, sit down. I want to talk to you. It was Ernie Banks. Right.
Oh, man.
Oh, I know. And so here's this 8-year-old kid and my eyes are as big as pizzas, right? Because that's what we have in Chicago. We have good pizza. So my eyes are as big as pizzas. And I'm talking to Ernie Banks. It's just me and him talking about Little League Baseball and whatever. What a great guy. What a great experience. Now, back then when I was about 8, I rooted for both teams in Chicago, right? And I didn't know any better because I didn't realize what the Cubs always did with their great players, always dealt them off to everybody. Nonetheless, that was a glorious moment, probably my best moment as a kid, sitting there, and I'm talking to Ernie Banks. And he was such a nice guy, just as you saw him to the last day he was on TV in any interview or whatnot. He was always great with the people. The people loved him. He loved the people. What did he always want to do? He wanted to play two. Let's play two, didn't he?
Sure. Well, yeah, he probably hung out in the store waiting for somebody like you to come along so he could tell baseball stories.
What a great experience. And here in our last 30 seconds, Darrell, I have to say that still today is my best experience with anything around baseball, whatever, wherever, it doesn't matter. That was as good for me as it possibly could get. In fact, when we come back from break, Darrell, I want you to reach down deep into the memory, and I want you to tell everybody maybe one or two of your greatest baseball stories as a kid. We'll be back in just a minute. Few minutes, that is, here on the Sports Circus with the great Darrell Evans, World Series champion, All-Star. Maybe at some point he could be a Hall of Famer. You never know. Back in a few. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You could get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the American Business Trust Company, helping companies with strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, and establishing companies with physical locations or on the internet. Give them a call. Find out more on how to fund your company, how to staff your company, how to get your company off the ground. In fact, why don't you give them a call at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. I may pick up the phone. You never know. Or email them at info@abtrustco.com. That's info@abtrustco.com. Nice round of applause for that. And welcome back to everybody watching on TV, listening in on radio, watching the live stream. We're everywhere. You can't get away from us, even those on the Mars rover. Back here with Darrell Evans, World Series champion, all-star third baseman, playing the hot corner, 21 years of the league. How many years did you manage? Was it 20 years, too? You were also a manager in professional baseball?
Well, a coach and a manager. But, yeah, you know, I always wanted to be a manager. You know, after you play for a few years and stuff, and it's like, well, man, you you kind of got to bite your tongue sometimes. You know, you're sitting there in the dugout and you're looking over at your manager and going, what in the world were you doing? What are you thinking? So it was like that got me the fire of going, you know what, I'd love to, at the end, to inspire people, because the big thing about playing so long is we got to learn so much. Just think, from so many people every year, I got to learn something new about baseball, and certainly when you're younger and stuff, you're soaking it all in. Right. Then after a while, you're okay to voice your opinion and go, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I know you were talking about that earlier in your show about why things we talked about that earlier. It's like, you know, bunting in the early innings, and so because if you bunt, man, your leadoff man's supposed to be your best, fastest guy. The second guy used to be is like, well, he's got to handle the bat, and it's like, well, that never made any sense, because in the first inning, you're going to bunt him over, because if you bunt him over, the leadoff man gets on second base, you got one out, and you got your best hitters coming up, the third hitter, who now the pitcher has a base open, so he doesn't really have to pitch to him, and if he ends up walking him, now he's got first and second, and you got the fourth or fifth guy. And if they hit a ground ball, you're out of the inning.
That's right.
So there's so many of those little things that they're just like baseball is still the same. You know, it's like it was, and this is the way it's so much different. Depends on your personnel more than anything else. So I always had a thirst to manage. I never really got a chance except in the minor leagues, which is disappointing. But when you're in the minor leagues, managing's the same. It doesn't matter where it's at, and it's kind of fun because you got, like I said, you got younger players, more inexperienced, so there's more teaching moments actually, and they're not going to talk back to you. They might be like me, sitting in the dugout and going, "What the heck are you thinking?" But they're probably not. They're going to listen to you. So and that continued. I think what kept me and the guys who played for a long time. Because we loved the game. We didn't lose our love for the game or anything. You know, when we were like young, we loved the game. When you're 30, you love the game, but other people are telling you, well, yeah, you better hurry because, you know, you're gonna fall apart here. You're getting old.
Right.
And you can't play anymore. And it's like, wait a minute, that's not true. So your love for the game never ends. And I think one of the things that motivated me the most was when I went to work, there was something I was going to learn. Something new no matter what. Whether it was playing out in the front yard or it was playing high school or it was playing this game or the other, I could always see there was always something that was going to come from baseball. And you had to be prepared to be the one that already knew what to do when those moments came up. So you were telling me, I mean, I love your show and all that kind of stuff because you got the greatest music. You know, I mean, I grew up in, heck, we loved going to a circus. Heck, one would come into town once a year And it was like, but it reminds me of how they play the game now sometimes. You watch the highlights on TV and they should have the circus theme on some of the stuff, because think about
Right?
what do they show? They show the big moments, and then they show the stupid stuff they do every day. And you would think that after all these years, 150 years we've been playing, you would think that they would be better at that, because they say that these guys are bigger, stronger, faster. If that was the case, they'd be doing better than they're doing. But the one thing about it is they're not smarter. They're not as prepared. They make more mistakes, and we overlook them so much.
But they're not
more.
practicing.
If you made a mistake back then, you were told about it. You were accountable.
Darrell, they're not practicing. They're not practicing. And here's a perfect example.
They're not practicing the right way because they don't practice that.
Here's a perfect example.
That's boring to them, but the higher you go in baseball, the more importance it takes on.
Darrell.
That's the difference. The ones that make the least mistakes win.
Darrell.
That's the difference between the major league teams. And we got some we got 3 or 4 teams that probably if you play less than 400 baseball, why? You're supposed to be so talented and everything, but apparently you're not that talented. And so it's kind of frustrating to watch the games, and it makes it easier for the good teams to beat the other teams and beat them up all the time, because they're going to make the most mistakes. So it's it's such a cerebral game, and it's hard to focus. I guess for most people to focus all the time. But I went to work and it was like, are you kidding me? I'm gonna be out here for 4 hours, 5 hours, and I'm not going to focus. It's like, and if you didn't, you were held accountable.
Okay.
So that's I grew up that way. I grew up, like I said, in Pasadena. We had they had some spring training games out there at Brookside Park, which is the ballpark it's across the street from the Rose Bowl, and it's been there forever. And it was called Brookside Park, and they had the Pirates and the Cubs had spring training back in the 20s and 30s, and they played some games like that. And one of the things that was great was it was always major league players that were in the area, and on the weekends they'd play games there too. So I could go, like you said, growing up, heck, I could go down to this park or several places in Southern California, and major league players were playing in the off season. And they were accessible. So they were more like, they weren't, like you said, they weren't aloof. They didn't act that way.
All right.
They were trying to teach everybody.
All right. Hold that thought for a second. I had to have an explosion get in there to break your stride for a moment.
Sorry, yeah.
No, that's okay. It's all right. Just watch for the cues and whatnot. We're set. Everybody on TV could see it. So we have one of our guys he's still an ongoing participant with the Sports Circus, our former full-time producer, Colonel Bucky, and he's a big Cincinnati guy, right? But he wants to know, how was it playing for Sparky Anderson? Answer that question in 1 minute, then we're going to have to go to break.
Okay. Oh, in 1 minute. Well, he was a Hall of Fame manager, I guess, but the best thing about Sparky, I guess, was that he could handle great players. They had the Big Red Machine, and then he had our teams, and won with them. But, he also lost 100 games in a few seasons, too. So I guess he was the epitome of what it's like, the little bit of line of how good, what the difference is, and I think it's personality more than anything else. Let the good players play. Try to teach the young players how to watch them, and sit back and let the talent pretty much dictate things. And he was good at that.
Well, think about this in our last minute of the segment or so here. The different teams that are out there loaded with young talent, that the talent is up, and the talent's been up not because they're emptying AAA and saying, all right, we're really behind the eight ball. We're not going to win anything this year. But what about the idea of the teams that bring the kids up? And Cincinnati's one of those teams that the kids have been up all year, and they're playing very, very well. They've been playing well. They're only a game out of the last wild card spot. But end of day, you look at, there's a bunch of kids up there. Joey Votto's back on the shelf. And, we're rooting for Joey. But it's cool to see the young kids up there, and they're competing. Yeah, dog days of summer. They're maybe not used to that long season, right? That extra month, etc. But when we think about a manager or a system that has confidence in the kids, I like that. But I also like the fact that teams need to practice a little bit more, right? Fundamental. And when we come back from break, I want you to pick up on that fundamentals talk, then get into a story, because remember we said that at the last break when we were going in. But fundamentals are such an important part of this game. People not understanding basic things of the game. And Darrell, there's some things we're going to talk about in the next segment. But tell you what, we're going to go to break right now, take care of a little bit of business for the Sports Circus. Back here in a few minutes, and we're going to ask Colonel Bucky to ask another question, because he's a big Cincinnati Reds guy, and we're going to try to help him out, and everybody else too. Make sure you send your emails if you like, info@thesportscircus.com, or on the streamer, send your question there. Back in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime, nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Hey, everybody. This is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Thanks for everybody joining us on our streaming platforms, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, WOW Cable Television affiliates, Hotel Television, and I think we're in 620,000 rooms, 650,000 rooms, something like that, some crazy number. Nonetheless, thanks for everybody joining us there. We gain about 4 million impressions per hour in itself. That's madness if you think about it, folks. That's about 300,000 impressions per 5 minutes. Maddening. All right, this segment is brought to you in part by our friend Darrell Evans' baseball situation. Darrell, what do you got going on in California?
Well, you're talking about I grew up, and I went to high school, John Muir High School in Pasadena.
Wait a minute. Wait, I want you to talk about the baseball camp first, then the story. Well, my son, we have a baseball, an academy. That's the one.
But I'm not always, I live in Texas, so I don't get to spend as much time out there, but he just had, he teaches and hitting mostly and stuff like that, and he just had three guys sign or drafted. So it's really a lot of fun. I talked to a couple of them yesterday, both of them, or two of them, and they were, it's like they're your kids. You see them develop and everything else, and something clicks with them, and they make this jump ahead of everybody else pretty much. They both said, that the organizations loved them, and they were like, how did you guys make it to 15th to 16th rounder? How did you guys? So of course, the coaches had never seen them, but they're so much more advanced because we allow them to talk, and we want to hear their ideas, and we certainly don't teach one way, and right away it's like, you're going to learn. Well, the first question I ask all the people, no matter where they're at, even little kids, where did you learn how to hit? And they all go, maybe my dad, my mom, my grandpa, my uncle, whatever, my coach, whatever. And so then the second question is, could they hit? And they don't usually answer that question with a yes. Most of them like, I don't know. Oh, yeah, I think he played high school or something. So we try to put in perspective is that, okay, the coaches are there, whatever your level you're at, but you're only learning a certain amount from them, and you may already know more than they know. But so in the long run, you end up teaching yourself. I mean, and that's why baseball is so hard, because nobody does it the same. Everybody's different. You do it depending on, of course, your body and your maturity and your age and your experience and all those kind of. So it teaches us to be really flexible and to give them a chance and let them answer the questions and be able to talk to us. And maybe we can't answer those questions, but we make sure that we're available for that, and then let them go, and they're going to call us back, or wherever they go, they're going to ask our opinion again. So it's really fun, and it works. And it works. It worked when I was playing, and it works now.
Okay, Darrell, I want you to talk about how people can learn about the academy. Who do they contact? Do you have a phone number or a web address? Anything? How could they get in touch with your son and maybe have their kids, or maybe they want to participate in it?
Well, I'm going to have to. I don't have that available right offhand here, but we'll do it on another show.
They can email.
Put it through.
They can email info@thesportscircus.com if they want to find out. What do you think about that?
Okay, so we'll give them all the information and all that kind of stuff. I apologize that I don't have it right in front of me.
That's okay. Okay, on with your story, because loyal listener Lisa wants a story.
Okay, so Lisa, when I was growing up, I went to John Muir High School, and you would think that maybe I might be the most famous alum from there, or maybe especially in baseball, right? But Jackie Robinson is the same high school Jackie Robinson went to. So and my parents went to school with him at the same time. My dad and my uncles played ball with him on the same teams and played against him and knew him and all that stuff growing up and everything else. So all of a sudden it's like, well, of course I was too young and, he wasn't around, he was gone. But then I realized my uncle, when he was in high school, one of the pitchers on his team was got to pitch for the Braves, got to the major leagues, Milwaukee Braves for 1 year. But I was the bat boy for that team, so I didn't think of Herb Hippoff, until he got to the major league, and he's playing with my favorite team, the Braves, and all of a sudden, it's like, hey, he just got called up to the major leagues, and you're going, oh yeah, man, I used to, play catch with him and all this kind of stuff. So then it was like, okay, he's going to take us to the game when they get to play the Dodgers. So I got to go to a major league game knowing a major league player that, heck, he had a baseball card, so he was great. And I got to go to the game. He got us tickets and everything. And so we got to go down there. We don't get to go on the field, but we got to go down there and wave at everybody else and go, hey, look, we're down here, and this guy loves us and all this kind of stuff. So it was the best. All of a sudden, it was like, you know what? When I watched him warm up, though, he was starting that night, and back then they used to warm up in front of the dugouts. So you could see him not in the bullpens. The starting pitchers used to warm up. I don't know if people know, but in front of the dugouts, and you could watch him pitch and everything. And I'm going, he's not really that good. I mean, I saw him pitch in high school. I'm sitting there going, I'm going into college. I'm going to just finish high school. I'm just going to junior college and stuff. And it was so funny because to see him compared to the other guys, and you thought, oh man, he's throwing 100 miles an hour, but maybe he wasn't. But it was so. I don't know. I was lucky. I guess I got to see that comparison, and then I listened to him after the game, talked to him and everything else, he was telling us how scared he was and how nervous and all those kind of things that you would never, like you said, you heard Ernie Banks talk to you about stuff that you would never know. But I got to be around that kind of stuff probably because of being in California. We used to have at this ballpark across the street from the Roseboro, Brookside Park, which is now Jackie Robinson Field. They used to play softball, overhand softball during the wintertime. And we had Irv Norn and Ralph Kiner and guys like all kinds of these guys would play against each other, and nobody knew it, but we were bat boys all the time for all these guys. So those stories, and I don't know if people know too, my mom played professional softball. Two of my aunts played professional softball when it wasn't a big deal back then, but it was, it was underhand fast pitch. She played in Arizona and New Mexico and all these kind of places. And then three of my uncles played professional baseball in the minor leagues. My grandfather played in AAA, but he pitched for Mexico because he was the best pitcher in Mexico. So the Mexican president wouldn't let him come and play in the States. So I grew up on that stuff. So I stood out to my mom, but the kids would always play at our place because they wanted my mom to come out and play with us because she was a professional softball player. So I had all these, to me, I guess it wasn't unusual, but obviously it's unusual for all this thing. But I think I was supposed to be around that. I was chosen to be able to do that kind of stuff and be able to talk to all those people. So it was an Ernie Banks kind of story, but it was constant every day and kept more and more people would be around. So,
that was your
first
calling.
time I ever met those guys was the greatest. Like you said, it was a big deal, but they were always nice to me. So it it was what we all were. We were speechless.
Yeah, and as a kid, in our last minute of this segment here, as a kid, you're living it. You don't realize you're living it. In your case, it was an ongoing daily thing. Whereas I had a one-time trip to the moon sitting with Ernie Banks, and that was incredible. But you were actually living this movie, and it kept going on and on and on for the better part of your life. And still today, now you have all those relationships, all those experiences, the playing time, the coaching time. You've done all this for most of your life. And what a wonderful thing to be able to be around such a great game and do what you love for your life for the most part. And then, you hang your hat up and call it a day. Back here in just a few minutes with World Series champion Darrell Evans in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. High pop fly. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you'd get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize. There's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about a congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul on a play. Why not talk about commercial products that don't do what they represent to do?
There's a smash to Squires. He's got it. 1, 2, 3, nothing across. We're going to the bottom of the 7th now to score. All tied up. Milwaukee 4, the White Sox 4. Hey! Everybody! All right, Nancy, let me hear you. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack.
I missed that. I didn't get to hear all those things.
Root for the White Sox. If they don't win, it's a shame. Or it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. Holy cow! This crowd is wild!
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Folks, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the Sports Circus on all social media platforms. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're there. Even YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe to our videos and whatnot and our audio feeds. There's lots of cool stuff out there. And of course, we're on Apple and Spotify and iHeartRadio and Google and Audible, all of those, plus many more. So make sure you like, subscribe, and follow those. Also, make sure you check out our partners page at thesportscircus.com. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! All right, back here with Darrell Evans, World Series champion, playing the hot corner with the Giants, the Tigers, the Bravos. And you know, Darrell, as a world champion, you've been in this rodeo. You played for great management. You played on great teams. You played with great players. How about a great Henry Aaron story? Tell everybody about, first of all, how long you played with Hank Aaron and where you played in the lineup, where you hit in the lineup. And give me a great story. You told me a bunch of them, but I want the audience to hear something.
Well, I was blessed to play with him almost 5 years, almost 5.5 years. My first 2 years in 1969 and 70, I was up and down in the minor league. Wasn't there all the time, but in 69, I was on the team. We lost to the Miracle Mets in the playoffs, and we lost in 3 games. The Seaver, and Ryan and who did I think? Kuzman, I guess. And Hank hit a home run in each game. And, sit there and watch this guy that I believe was chosen to be who he was. And he was the person that was chosen to beat Babe Ruth's record and do all the things that he's done. But all the magnificent things that he's done, he was, I think the key was probably as humble as anybody I'd ever met. He grew up with brothers and sisters. He was out on his own. He went through the minor leagues and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, when he got to Major League, it was like, Willie Mays. If you talk about the best players of all time, people say Mays, Mantle, all those kind of other guys, and then you go, yeah, but Hank holds almost every record. Offensive record there is, and won, how many Gold Gloves, 20 for All-Star teams. So I remember him, and maybe this will tell you about spring training. My first spring training, and the first day in spring training, you're there for 5 or 6 or 10 days maybe before you start playing exhibition games. And we were in West Palm Beach, so we played an exhibition game. First day was against the world champion Baltimore Orioles. Exciting as could be, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, dreams that you dream about and everything else. And I'm sitting in the dugout with Orlando Cepeda, Hall of Famer, Phil Niekro, Hall of Famer. Hoyt Wilhelm was on that team, Hall of Famer. Eddie Matthews, Hall of Famer, was a hitting coach. Excuse me, and Hank. But Hank overshadowed everybody on both teams. The Orioles had all these great stars and everything. So I remember sitting down at the end of the bench with all the other rookies or the young guys because we were still in awe of all these other players. Well, Eddie Matthews came walking down and goes, "Hey, why are you sitting down here? Get your down to the other end of the dugout and watch these guys. Listen to what they say." And Hank and her were like, "Oh, man, we can? Yeah, okay, I can." So we sat down there, and I remember, so the bottom of the first inning, we're the home team. The bottom of the first inning, Hank's coming up, nobody on. Or let's see, he gets up there, one man on, he's in third. And I think it was Palmer was pitching. It was Jim Palmer, I think. So he hits a fly ball to left field, but he kind of gets jammed, and he got jammed. He didn't hit it perfect. Got jammed a little bit. And Eddie's sitting there with next to him, Matthews, and he's going, "Watch this." So Hank was always this guy that he never lets you show his emotions. I don't know if people didn't see him play, but, he wouldn't put his helmet on until he was walking up to home plate. He was calm as can be. You didn't think he was going to do anything, but I was talking to one of my buddies, Bill Bordley, about this and how many, he hit a home run almost every fourth game. So he was this guy that you expected was going to do. So he pops up to left field. So he runs to first, comes back down, and he's going to come back to the dugout. And I was like, I really never seen him go, well, how's he going to react? Well, he just walked by and takes his helmet out, puts it gently into the bat rack and all that kind of stuff. And then he went down in the tunnel, and I didn't realize. So he went down the tunnel and everything, and then now he comes back out, and he walks by, and Eddie looks up to him, and he goes, "You got him in your trap now, huh?" And Hank had he had a great infectious smile in him, and he smiled at Eddie. I didn't know what he was talking about. So Hank goes sit down, waits till he's going to get his next at bat, couple innings or whatever. Now he's going up there on on-deck circle, and Eddie's going to watch it. Same thing. So this time he hits a home run to left field. Now, this is his second at bat in spring training, but he got jammed on the same pitch. But this time he hit that same pitch over the fence. And like I said, Eddie's hitting me. See that? See what? And I'm like, wow. Wait a minute. No. So he comes back in the dugout, and Eddie, and he winks at Eddie. I'm watching him. I'm watching Hank. He winks at Eddie and sits down and goes, "Yeah, I got him again." So it was all about, does anybody ever think that? Are you kidding me? That's how good he was. Was that he was like, I got him in a trap. I know what they're going to try to do with me because they think I'm old and I can't hit anymore. And because they jam me, so now they can pitch me inside again. And, of course, he was best at making adjustments. And it was I would have never thought about that. Of course, yeah. It was all mental. It was all so that he knew now. And all those pitchers, not just Plummer, but when, of course, he was in the American League, so he was going to face him during the season anyway. But all those pitchers on the other team all saw that too. So he was that guy that you just were so, you were in awe of him, but it was he made it look so easy, but he was doing something that no one else could ever do better. I used to kid him all the time too, and I used to locker right next to him and everything. And he was we liked to kid him. He loved to laugh. He loved to be the butt of the jokes, stuff like that. And because he knew what his status was, he wanted to make everybody comfortable. He came up to me right away when I was a rookie. And I think people think, oh yeah, you get razzed and all that kind of stuff. They do that. But they do that to test you to see how you're going to react. Because they want every player on that team has to be as good as he can be for us to win a pennant. So yeah, it's hitting and it's all that kind of stuff, but it's trying to educate everybody on how to get as good as you can be. And so that was, to me, that was the essence of Hank. He had the most respect of any player because the players talk, players show you, they know who they respect across the field. And, it's almost like the pitchers would, when Hank's, I hit third in front of him a lot. And they'd be looking, it's funny because they would be looking over in the on-deck circle all the time while they're pitching to me. And like, oh, Hank's coming up next. So accordingly. So he affected so much of the game and the respect of the players. And, of course, because he was such a class act, he reflected how baseball players are supposed to be. So it was a privilege to be. I was one of the great things about going to work and seeing the best and being around the best, maybe the best player of all time. I did kid him before, though, because I told him, no, it's not Babe Ruth is better, and the stats and all that kind of stuff. But just like we were talking before, but Babe Ruth was also won 199 games pitching. So Hank, he laughed and said, yeah, maybe he got me there. But
right.
Being able to go through watching him approach, how can you approach Babe Ruth's record and just blow by it? I mean, he didn't even, he wasn't off for a month. And then you go, yeah, man, I need to get that out of the way, because that's too much pressure. Because I got to listen to everybody every day. There was press conference before and after the games and all that kind of. And he looked at it as like, no, I'm getting this out of the way, because then I don't have to answer all these questions. I can go out and play, have fun playing baseball. So it was to be with a guy like that. Of course, it doesn't get any better than that, but I was blessed to be able to do that, and to be associated with that. I hit third in front of him most of the time, which is an honor, of course. And my job, learned that right away, was to get on base for Hank. And once in a while, hit a home run or whatever. I was trying to get on base, so I walked a lot, led the league in walks in front of him. And some people go, oh, well, how'd you do that? You got better pitch because you hit in front of Hank. Well, I got enough respect to know that, okay, maybe I might hurt them too. So, but it was every day was like you had this guy walk up there, when I'm up in the plate, I know he's on deck, and there's more worried about him while they're pitching to me, which was kind of blows you away if you look back on how respected that man was.
Well, hitting 414 home runs in Major League Baseball is insane to imagine for anybody. And let's face it, Darrell, you have done a lot of things that people haven't done. And we want to thank you for joining us on the circus today. And of course, you're always welcome back, because you are one of our baseball insiders, and we want you back again real soon. And I know you'll be willing to do that, because we have lots of stories. And geez, we talk for hours on the phone anyway.
We got lots to talk about with the pennant races. Yeah.
I know. Who knows? Maybe we'll come right back and do another show on that. Folks, that's going to do it for today's show here on the Sports Circus. We'll see you next time right here on your favorite station. So for Darrell Evans, World Series champion, all-star third baseman, I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you next time. So long, everyone.
This is time.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.